Hello and welcome. Chris from Missouri here, and I'm doing another video. And this time, though, I'm doing a video response from Don's Field of Dreams cards. If you, by some chance, if you haven't looked at his channel, man, he's one of my favorite guys that's on YouTube. And when he starts to talk and tell a story, it's like he puts you there in his mind and even in his heart. And his video response that he wanted today was come up with a few cards that's not necessarily your most expensive card or even maybe your favorite card, but one that maybe evokes emotion and or you have a nice story to tell when you pick it up or why you got it or something about that card. And so I'm gonna tell one story, but I'm gonna show you three different cards, and I'm gonna tell you why these cards mean so much to me. And on one of the videos that I've done, and I haven't done very many yet, but I expressed the fact that my dad's favorite card was what a favorite player was Roy Campanella, and my dad, I collected cards before my dad did, but he got excited in the hobby um, and he started collecting when I was like maybe a sophomore in high school or junior in high school, and he collected with my younger brother, and we would talk baseball all the time. When I was a young kid and wanted to get out of trouble, maybe I was in trouble for not doing something I was supposed to, and after a while, instead of asking for forgiveness or something like that, I'd sit down and I'd say, "Dad, tell me about the Brooklyn Dodgers, or tell me about whoever." And his favorite player, and taught me to respect him and look up his stats and see how great he was, is Roy Campanella. And this is this is my favorite card of Roy Campanella. And when I look at this, I think of my dad a lot. He was my dad's favorite player. And when my favorite player became Johnny Bench, and we would compare stats, and my dad would always just tell me, remember, Roy Campanella was MVP 30% of the years that he played. And it was always like a drop the mic moment. And it was hard for me to argue that a guy that was MVP three different times and his career cut short because of a car crash and didn't get a start so early because uh, baseball wasn't integrated yet. And my next card I want to show you is I remember how proud I became of my collection when I picked up this card. I didn't think I could, as a kid, ever get it. And I was, I'd graduated high school and but finally I was able to pick up my 1968 Johnny Bench. And when I pick this up and when I look at it, besides him being my favorite player and stuff, I remember how I felt when I was able to put that card in my collection. Like I was proud that somehow my cards in my shoebox became just more important. And I remember leaving to go on vacation or something like that, and hiding the Johnny Bench away from the rest of my collection. That if somebody broke into our house and stole my collection, at least they wouldn't find the Johnny Bench. Was my thinking. And my third card, I just again probably my favorite player in the American League. I was born in a place called Greasy Creek, Kentucky. It's just right outside of Pikeville, and we moved to Middle Missouri when I was about 7 or 8 years old, and so when growing up in Kentucky, Cincinnati Reds were the team that we watched, and of course Johnny Bench was one of the better players on the Big Red Machine there, and that's why I became such a Johnny Bench fan. But when I moved to Middle Missouri, I became a George Brett fan, and I love the George Brett rookie. And here's my story. Here's my story about the George Brett rookie. Baseball cards have been very important to me uh, growing up, just like probably everybody else. But they they helped me out along the way. If I was short money in college, I would sell a couple cards. If I was just needing the money to pay a bill or something, I'd sell a card, and eventually I'd try to get it back. But I when I took my first job coaching in the big town of Glasgow, Missouri, I had to be over there by August 1st because the first of the fall's practices started around the 10th, and I had to be moved into an apartment. But teachers, first year teachers back then, didn't get paid until after their first month. So I was going to be there from August 1 to September 20th was going to be my first paycheck, and I was poor. I didn't have much. Of course, I didn't save much money in the summertime, busy running around playing fast pitch softball and spending my money on that kind of stuff. But when I moved to Glasgow to start teaching and coaching, I went to the bank and I wanted to borrow $2,000 from the bank just so I could get set up in an apartment and pay deposits on stuff and actually be able to eat that first month. And the bank asked me what I had for collateral, and I said, I guess baseball cards. And so I brought the baseball cards in, and they put $2,000 in the account and kept my cards in a vault as collateral. And I felt odd not having those cards in my at my house to go through. And I hurried up as best as I could and as fast as I could to pay off that loan. Well, skip a few years, 1 or 2 years, and I went into the loan officer, who happened to be my girlfriend's father, and I said, I got a couple questions to ask you. And he said, what's that? And I said, well, I need to borrow some money. And he asked me how much, and I told him, and he said, well, what do you have as collateral? And I said, 15 George Brett rookie cards, 15 of these. And he looked at them and admired them, and he said, well, okay, what's the second question? And I said, well, if you answer the second question the way I don't want you to, I don't really need a loan. I would like to marry your daughter. So if you don't want that to happen, don't give me the loan, and I won't get her a ring. And so he said yes, and I ended up using the 15 George Brett rookie cards as collateral, bought her a ring. I paid that thing off before our wedding. And now when my wife and I reminisce about that story, even just here recently, she said, I think you love baseball cards more than you love me. And I said, well, at least I love you more than Pokemon. Listen, it's just a hobby. Collect what you love.